Supervisor, how are you? Bill Brady. Great, feeling great. Thanks for having us.
Pleasure.
And so far, everything's working, and
That's a good thing.
how about your agenda tonight?
Well, I'm gonna start you off in the beginning, right? Just so that you don't have to hang out.
Great,
We'll
great.
get that done, then we have to go through our agenda, so. How long do you think?
What you tell me, 15 minutes is good? Great,
We can abbreviate some words if you want, it's okay.
great. Yeah, right, that's it. If you want me to speed it up, I'll tighten it up. We did one down in the city of New Rochelle. They had a city council work session. So we got in there, and the room was packed, and you could tell they're like, make it quick, so. My boss Norma was like, done.
Is Norma coming?
No, just me tonight.
Oh.
Right. And I have to keep my eye out. There may be a census staff person I want to introduce them to, just so you have a face and a name as
You
well.
got the mic over there.
And I'll see if that's, yep, I can do it from here, so I'm not in the way. Oh, he'll turn
Is
it
that
on.
on, Lenny, the mic?
Oh, yeah, right now it's on because I'm testing it.
Rejuvenating. Very cute. Do you know the principal is an old friend of mine? Yeah, he was Tim's teacher, my son's teacher.
Check 1 2. Check. Check 1 2. Check.
Hey, how are you? Tom, one of the council members. Nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you, Bill Brady from County Planning.
Welcome.
Thanks for
Welcome.
having us. Thanks for
Yeah,
having
welcome.
Great,
Have fun.
Hopefully
Anytime.
it's good, helpful information for you tonight. About
Excellent.
Census. Little dry,
Yeah.
but we're trying to.
Very interesting.
But it's important, yeah.
I may need a coffee.
Right, get that coffee, exactly.
Hello, how are you?
Doing great, thank you.
Oh, the census.
All right,
I'm here.
gotta.
Another county worker. I was a county worker up until April when I retired from the health department.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh, yeah. I was with the county 79 through 84, then left and became a school nurse, and then went back to the health department in 201, and lasted until 219.
Great, congratulations.
I'll tell you one thing. Are you in the system? Are you in the county
Oh, yeah,
system?
oh, yeah.
In the New York State retirement system?
Yep, I've got 31 years already.
Yep. You will love it.
My boss retired almost 2 years ago.
Who was your boss?
Pat Nettarelli. And
Hey, Jim.
he's actually on the planning board in Irvington.
Oh.
So I guess you don't look it up this way, but he said, I highly recommend retirement.
Yes.
Dunkin' was closed.
What?
They had their holiday party.
This is what we do.
Oh, that was nice.
Okay.
Wait for the commercial to be over. Ready? Can I ask you to please stand for the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you and good evening. To start off this evening, the County of Westchester, William Brady is here with us this evening to give us an overview of the 2020 census that's coming up next year.
Thank you very much.
You want to come back over this?
Good evening, everyone.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is on. It's a nice, big, quiet room. I
It
think
is.
I'll be okay. Yeah, my name is Bill Brady with Westchester County Department of Planning. Here to talk about the 2020 census. It's just about 4.5 months away. Things are gearing up. The Census Bureau is gathering its training its staff, sending staff out into the communities, getting on with the county. We're one of the census affiliates. We're the local affiliate for the census. So we work with the town over the years, not just in the 10-year census periods, but we provide kind of the keeper of census data, and we provide data out to the municipalities on an ongoing basis. I'd also like to introduce Owen Bonner. Yep, Owen Bonner is with the census. He's one of the community outreach staff. So census is, Owen's one of the census faces of the census locally, and he'll be working with the municipalities as well with us going forward over the next 4.5 months of a lot of work to go. We're reaching out to each municipality. We're doing this kind of presentation to give some background information. Again, things are going to be kicking in very soon. Some background on the census. As back from your civics class, it's mandated by the U.S. Constitution. First census was in 1790. This is the 24th census. You also know probably that census is used to give out the seats, reestablish the seats every 10 years in the U.S. House of Representatives, the 435 seats. It's also used to realign the County Board of Legislators districts every 10 years as well. But there's much more to it than that. It's the time when the census is used to also redistribute the county sales tax. So that's a very important thing, and that sticks for the next 10 years. So it's important for the town, reason number one for the town, to really get a good count, a census count every 10 years. There was a report done by the George Washington Institute back in, they did a report on in 2016. Every year, approximately $880 billion comes through federal agencies down to the country utilizing census numbers. So depending on how good the count is, that's a very big reason why the census is important for everybody across the country. So we need to count every single person in each municipality as best as we can going forward. That's a lot of money that comes down, $880 billion every year is estimated comes down and is allocated using census numbers. We use the census every day in our jobs. The town uses it, private industry uses it, businesses use it in marketing, where to locate their businesses and things like that. We'll get into a little bit about the American Community Surveys, ACS. That's another form of the census for establishing census numbers and numbers that we use every day. What's different for 2020? It's the first time that it's going to be people are going to be responding online. And who's that going to be difficult for? Most likely people who are seniors. So we'll get into that a little bit later because they're the people that likely may have some difficulty with that. What's different this time is also that the Census Bureau will have the ability to ask neighbors or building managers if they can't get into a unit after all the mailings and all the census takers come out. The building manager or neighbors can say, that's a vacant unit, or there are 3 people who live in that unit. We'll get into that a little bit later as well. That's what's different this year. Also, what's different now is that there's going to be utilization of some other government agencies' records from variety of different agencies to determine if a unit is vacant or to a teen account. But in terms of privacy, remember that the Census Bureau and the census takers and even our office are sworn to privacy when we take data and census collects data by unit, that none of that information goes back to any of the federal agencies or is given out in public. So Census 2020, again, on the left, that's what's done every 10 years. The goal is to get 100% count of the population. There's only 9 questions given on the census. Again, every 10 years, it's very simple. The first time it's online, but 9 questions really about the names of the people who live in the units, how many people live in the units, what's your relationship to the person who's filling out the form. I'm the daughter, son, cousin, grandmother, or I'm just a roommate. Again, it's just by housing unit, by address. Your age, your sex, your relationship, again, to the person filling out the census, race and ethnicity, and do you own or rent? Again, very simple questions, very easy to fill out. The ACS is something that the Census Bureau also manages. They manage other censuses. They mentioned censuses of prisons and other populations. They do lots of work ongoing. But the ACS is something a number of years ago that they started sending out surveys, longer form surveys about population and other information that goes out to almost 300,000 addresses each month across the country. So it's a small sampling that's sent out every month, and they get into deeper questions. So some of you may have received that over the years, and that's a kind of a longer form. We use that data on income and lots of, there's all different kinds of questions on there that are pages and pages long. We don't want to get people confused about the 2020 census, which is just once every 10 years. That's what's coming out next spring in March. The ACS is something that sends a sampling out across the country every month. So someone might actually get an ACS survey in the next couple months, and then a Census 2020 survey. So we just want to make sure that people are clear that you got to fill out both of them. A little bit on the geography of census. The smallest is the block data. It's truly a block. So if we walk out Town Hall, make a right, make a right, make a right, make a right, and you end up outside Town Hall here, that's the block. Turns out nobody lives in this block, I think, right? This little block if you go around here. But suppose there was one house on that block. That could be, some people might consider that a privacy concern. So if there's one house in a block, normally say there's 20 units or something, or 50 units. But if there's one residence on that block, some people might have a concern about privacy. But basically, in the end, the real data that's released is usually by block group. It's a grouping of the blocks. So it's less of a concern if there's particularly one or very few people who live in a block. The next one is so a block group, ideally, the optimum size is about 1,500 people in a block group. The next bigger grouping is the census tract. You may have heard that term. That's about optimum size is about 4,000 people, and then you go up and up and up into the county. So again, just wanted to give you a little bit of background on some of that terminology about the census. So Luca was a thing we did about a year ago, and this is where we start to get concerned about the current census. Concern number one, we did this survey on behalf of the census. We went into our records, we went on aerial photography, went down every little street, driving on the computer, and we looked and we counted, and we did also surveys of new buildings that had been built in the last 10 years. And there was a gap from the amount of addresses that the census thought we had. There was a gap in just the municipalities that we worked on. There was a gap of 24,000 units that the census didn't know about. That's a big concern. So luckily they have that new information, but that's a big concern about this gap that's out there, this looming gap that might be out there about who understands about what units are out there. We did some homework. We found 24,000 units that the Census Bureau didn't understand. This past fall, we actually held a training here in Mount Pleasant Town Hall and three other municipalities where we were actually having training for municipal building departments to better report to the Census Bureau about building permits and new building permits, new units coming online, new construction. So all kind of fine-tooth comb, trying to get better data. And that was one concern, is that we found a huge gap last year in census data. This might be hard for you to see, but another service that we provide to the census is fixing borders that they understand, the census border lines. So the white borders are two municipal borders between the city of New Rochelle on the left the town of Amerenik in the middle, and the village of Larchmont on the right. The blue line, which doesn't match the white line, is what the Census Bureau had in their records for the municipal boundary. So stuff like this. So these houses were in this limbo land of which town were they supposed to be counted in the census. So again, it's just an example of some of the things that we at the county do to comb through data and make sure they have good quality data. Hard to read this, but this is kind of a timeline between last year, this year, and going forward, straight through 2020, the year of the census. So things were gearing up in 2018. Now it's fall of 2019 is when we're doing this kind of thing, reaching out to the municipalities. In early 2020 is when census takers are being trained. Certain census takers are actually going up into Alaska, into the Rocky Mountains to find people who don't have addresses and you can't get to them. That starts then. But really the dates to start to remember, and you'll be hearing a lot more about this with all the outreach material, is mid-March. March 12th is when the first letters go out to everybody. Remember, it's online, but you're going to get a paper mailing. In that mailing, it's an invitation to answer the census, and there's a code. You're going to type in that code that's specific to your address, and then you're going to answer the census. You can answer it on your phone, on your computer. There's also a phone number. You can pick up the phone and talk to them and answer the census on the phone. So they make it very easy. Again, but it's easy for certain populations. It's not so easy, and that's a big concern. We're trying to make sure that we get to the outreach and help out some of the populations, particularly senior populations, on answering the census. I'm going to go back to this just so quickly. 3 mailings in March. Boom, you're bombarded with 3 mailings. Please answer the census. Please answer the census. Please answer the census. If you don't answer those by April, if you haven't filled out the form, boom, they'll send you the paper census to fill out. If you don't answer that, after April, that's when the census takers come knocking on the door. So if you don't want someone knocking on your door once, knocking on your door twice, because they'll keep on knocking, answer the census. And that's something that we want to tell the seniors particularly too. Is don't be afraid, and we'll have lots of help to help them answer to make sure they're not scammed, because there may be scammers out there saying, give us your social security numbers and answer the census. We want to make sure that nothing like that happens. So we're going to talk about having efforts to go to the senior centers and encouraging them and assuring them that this is the way to do it. If you need help, people will be able to sit down and actually do it with you and answer your questions along the way. So by the end of 2020 is when Census Bureau submits it to the President of the United States. Here are the census numbers. And in 2021 is when we all get our hands on the census data, and they start all over again for 2030. It's unbelievable to hear that number, right? This is just a chart basically saying that 95% of the households will get the census invitation in the mail to answer online. 5% of the households receive their invitation by census drop because they don't have an address. People have P.O. boxes and things like that. So, and then 1% of the people who live up in the mountains who have to get census takers going by horseback and other methods. Another calendar, again, just kind of spelling out all the different letters that are going out, and then finally, if you don't answer the questionnaire, and if you don't answer the questionnaire, they come knocking. So this is discouraging and concerning point number 2. In 2018, the Census Bureau did a survey, a 50,000 person survey. Only 17,500 people bothered to answer it. Again, census is not an exciting topic. So they did this and they said, please, we need your opinions about the survey, about the census. So what's concerning about this is that they did the same thing before the 2010 census, back in 2008. It's called the CBAMS. They did a survey, and back in 2008, 14% of the people who responded said they're not going to answer the census. After the 2010 census, the number basically was 24% of the people didn't respond to the census. So, in 2018, we did the same survey. It bumped all the way up to 33% of people said they weren't intending to answer the census. So guess what? If it went from 14 to 24 actually didn't respond, if it's already at 33 and you tack on another 10%, and then we're talking the 40% of the people might not answer the census. This is bad news for everybody if people don't answer the census. And there's a lot of reasons, and that survey kind of spells out some of those reasons. This is kind of a gauge on what people think about the census. I'm somewhat familiar, I'm very familiar, I'm not at all familiar, I'm not too familiar, typical kind of response. But why don't, from this survey, why don't people answer the census? Apathy, just whatever. Concerns about data confidentiality and privacy, that's a legitimate and big concern. Fear of repercussions. Now this survey was done before they took off that citizenship question, right? So fear of repercussions may be one of those concerns a couple of years ago. Even though that citizenship question is off of the census, no one's asking about citizenship, that may have kind of chilled a lot of people from answering the census in the first place. A distrust in government. These days there's a lot of people grumbling about a lot of things, and few perceive personal benefits. What's in it for me? Toss it away. I'm not going to bother answering, right? So these are the things. This is why these are potential barriers to answering the census. This is a little hard to read also, but the survey asked, what do you think is going to be in it if you answer the census? What are the benefits to answering? Hospitals and healthcare, fire departments, police departments, I'll answer the census if I get something out of that. Roads and highways, if it fixes my potholes, I'll answer the census. And schools, it's my civic duty, things like that. The Census Bureau and some other researchers identified after the last census hard to count areas of Westchester County. They're in brown and red here. The town of Mount Pleasant has just one little corner down here at the south end. I think that's down near in Valhalla neighborhoods down there. These are areas where the return rate was below the national average for answering the census, the mailings, last time around. So we're going out to a lot of communities, particularly the ones with the deep reds, saying this is an emergency, and it's also for the Census Bureau to understand where to get their resources, and also for the municipalities to understand where they need to put their resources to. It's obvious to someone like us, these are areas with a lot of multifamily units. So we've been reaching out to, and we'll continue to reach out to realty associations to get flyers and posted in buildings to say, please answer the census, things like that. The county has formed a complete count committee in just this past year. There are 5 subcommittees where many municipalities have complete count committees. This is how we're going to drum up response to the census. Field operations, that's hiring staff and getting the word out, getting volunteers out. Marketing and communications, flyers, ads, bus stop ads, things like that. If it's in a neighborhood with a high Spanish-speaking population, the bus ads will be in Spanish, things like that. Nonprofit, faith-based, and community-based orgs. These are the groups that know the community, speak the languages. Youth and education. One of the top ways to get to a lot of people and parents to answer things and to do their civic duty is mailings through the kids, and we're touching base already with the school districts. Have Census Week at school in March. Educate the kids. Put the flyers in the bags to go home to the homes. A lot of times, the parents may not be documented and may be concerned about answering the census, but trying to reach out that way. And again, seniors and persons with disabilities. These are the groups that are less likely to be computer friendly and may need the most help. And again, I already mentioned the local complete count committees. Getting down to the local level, the municipalities know where the people live and what languages they speak and what churches they go to. And they know who the people are most comfortable talking to about these types of things. Because people are nervous. People may be nervous. So that's our Make Us Count. That's going to be one of the ad campaigns that you see out there. Norma Drummond is my boss. She's the Commissioner of County Planning. And again, you'll be hearing more and more about this. Again, Owen is census staff. He's going to be out here dealing with the municipalities. So again, Westchester County Department of Planning, we're your county resource for the census. We're going to be out there. We're going to be going to hundreds between us as staff and volunteers, hundreds of senior centers over the coming months. Again, that's a big concern of ours, is making sure that they answer the census, they understand, they're not scared, they get help. they're not falling subject to scams, or they're not going to be afraid of scams, things like that. So we have a lot of work to do. Let us know. Owen, did you want to fill something in?
I just want to say a few things, just to recap.
Sure.
So, the census is available online, you can answer the census on the phone and in paper in 28 languages. So everything is English and Spanish, but I know from my relatives and friends around here, there are plenty of people that still speak Italian. You can fill out your census in Italian. I visited Pleasantville and they asked me. So yes, you can. So we have a huge language bank. People shouldn't be afraid of that. The confidentiality issue, no one can get to that data. It's illegal, and we don't care. We're counting by units. Your address and how many people. We're not interested in who's on the other side of that door. Someone who are alive human being. So if you're a person who's living in section housing and the place is packed with people that don't belong there, we're not allowed to say a word because we're not regulatory. And so we just want to count. That's really what's important. And the third is that the one thing that this county never invites people to do is work for us. We have to hire thousands of people. And they're local jobs. You work in your own neighborhood. You go to 2020census.gov and you'll see a big banner that says work for us. Part-time, your schedule, $21 an hour. We pay for your training and you get paid every week. And it does not affect your your public assistance. So in New York State, we have a waiver that opens it up to anyone who's on, they're on food stamps, they might be receiving some sort of TANF check or whatever. This doesn't count. This is additional income to help move you along for the period that we're doing the census. So some people will start working in January, and all census enumeration will start around about April 15th and 1st. Everything will be finished by the end of July. But during that period of time, why not make $21 an hour on nights and weekends? And that's really all I wanted to plug.
Great, thank you very much. And again, it's a big benefit to have the census staff and the census takers come from the community. So it's a good volunteer effort, but you get paid for it. But it's a good civic duty as well, and getting out, knocking on those doors. It's a friendly face from your town. It's a good way to kind of get the count up as well. So, any other questions from the town board? And thank you very much for the time.
Thank you.
And good luck, and we look forward to continue working with the town and the people in the town. Thank you.
Sarah, what was that address?
It's 2020census.gov.
.gov, okay.
Everything we need to know is the bad jobs that we're running.
Bill, you know that one question. Have you identified the senior centers here in the town of Mount Pleasant and all the hamlets?
I believe they've been identified.
Okay.
If we haven't identified each and every one, we'll be doing that. And also we'll be thinking about senior buildings. Again, group quarters are already counted, but things like senior buildings, and we'll have a special outreach to them as well for seniors, things like that. Assisted living. Certain ones may be counted already as group quarters, but there are a lot of buildings out there that just by nature are heavy seniors as well. So we'll continue to do that.
Because not only the town has an active senior program, but the hamlets within the town, the village of Sleepy Hollow, the village of Pleasantville, also have active senior centers.
Right, and we're hoping to even have the senior centers and other places like libraries become census hubs. So, at certain times of day, there'll be people there, either volunteers or staff helping people answer. But if they're already right at senior centers and places like that, even better. People are comfortable there and, answering the census.
I have two quick questions. After April 1st, when the door knocking begins, do you have hours of which that'll take place?
Oh, and I believe it's kind of a lot of times after work and on weekends.
The goal is to approach people when they're at home. So most census knocking will happen in the evening and on weekends. But that schedule is very flexible. The field staff's job is to collect the information. So if you're not there at one time of the day, they might try another.
Assume there's a time of night when it ends?
I I assume so, but I'm grateful for not being on that side of the house.
Gotcha. And I assume they're all well identified when they come to the
Everyone
door?
will have a badge. They'll be very clear. The Census Bureau doesn't ask for social security numbers, driver's license, your Visa card, any of that information. We just want basic.
I have
Everyone, yes, that's a very good question.
another question. How do I specify who lives in the house? In other words, if you have young people that are away, either at college or traveling or something like
That's a
that?
good question. If someone's at college, they get counted there. If they're
At college.
If they're at college, and it's where they're laying their head on April 1st. And if they're in a dorm, they're going to be counted by the college. If they're off campus, you've got off-campus people in your town from local colleges. They need to be counted in those homes, either with their parents or in apartments. So, which is a challenge. You know, 20-something-year-olds, they've never answered the census. They maybe live in an illegal apartment. I lived in an illegal apartment in the basement when I was in my 20s. So maybe some of you did too.
Oh, yes.
I didn't answer the census in 1990 because I was in that illegal apartment, and the people upstairs, perhaps, maybe they filled it out for me, probably not. But so it's a challenge to reach out, and the census has done their homework. We've done some homework on identifying even the illegal units that we're not reporting to the town. So those are going to be searched out, and it's to the town's benefit to get all those people counted and get the money flowing down to the town.
It's not where their driver's license is or something. It's where they put their head on at night.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
Again, thank you, William. We appreciate
Thank you
that.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a continuation of our public hearing on the town 2020 budget. We don't need to announce it again, right?
No.
Okay. Anybody who wishes to discuss anything on the town budget, you're welcome to do so at this time. We have our town controller is here, Brian Keneally, and also our assessor, Jim Timmings, is here if you have a question about your assessment. You could all line up in the middle if you like.
We'll take numbers.
Just means Brian's doing a good job.
I hope that's I hope that's an indication that we did the right thing on the budget. But being there are no speakers, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing on the budget.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Smalley,
Second.
second by Mrs. Soriano. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 60419 will approve the 2020 budget moving forward.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Ms. DiPaolo,
Second?
second by Ms. Hagedis. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is to call for a public hearing to annex 26 Westerly Lane South into the Kensico Water District. A few years back, we had put in a new water main on Westerly Lane South, and there are some residences who are not part of the district, so they have to petition the town to become part of that district. So this resolution will allow them. I can give you some information on where they are. Let's see. There's a petition from the residents. Mr. and Mrs. Boetti.
26.
This resolution will schedule a public hearing for, you have a date for the public hearing?
Next week, December 17th.
December 17th. Resolution 60519 will schedule a public hearing for December 17th. Need a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Smalley,
Second.
second by Mr. DiPaolo. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is authorization to refund late charges accruing on certain real property taxes for the 2019 county town taxes based upon the failure of the United States Postal Service to deliver tax bills. As you may or may not, we had talked about this before because the town had to request a home rule change with the Senate and Assembly in the state of New York to try to give some relief to certain residents who were charged a penalty and interest for not paying their tax bills on time. This authorization will allow the town to relieve the late payments and the penalties up until March 31st.
May.
May 31st. We appreciate the state's efforts on this and allowing people to get credit for this. We will start, the minimum credit will be $25 and up. We have found that the processing of anything lower than that, it costs us more than that. So this resolution will approve and authorize the town or controller to credit the penalties and interests. We have a list of quite a few residents who fill in that category. So this resolution will authorize our controller to submit these credits to these residents.
Move for approval.
Motion by Mr. DiPaolo.
Second.
Second by Ms. Smalley. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
The next thing I have is just the investment report. The current rate of interest is 2%. At this time, we have business from the floor. Anybody wish to address the board on town business is welcome to do so. Thank you.
This has to do with the town, so,
Okay,
okay.
we'll let you.
Margaret Kunzio, County Legislator, representing the town of Mount Pleasant, and I told you I would be here with an update. With the passage of the county budget, which not only included the operating budget, it also included the special districts budget and the capital budget. I am pleased to say that the $2 million additional money that I put in for the Commerce Street project has been approved with the passage of the budget. So I have for you the additions list, and this will show you that an additional $2 million was required to complete the project. So working with Hugh Grecian, the DPW commissioner from the county, as well as Rich Banquet, who is the highway supervisor, we were able to come to a conclusion that the additional $2 million was needed. With the passage of the budgets, that money is now in there, and the DPW commissioner will go on to the construction phase. So the money that was currently put in for Commerce Street was not enough, and that was because of a lot of dealings with the MTA, New York State. It is a very complex project. It's a redesign. It's not just paving and adding sidewalks. So after speaking to him, we came up with a figure. I added that number in on the first Monday of December, which is December 2nd, which was Ads Day. It was not deleted from the budget on Deletes Day. With the passage of the budget yesterday, we now have that extra money, so Commerce Street will actually get started this year on that construction.
Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you very much,
I know
Margaret,
you
really.
worked very hard to make sure that
Yes.
this happened. and
Thank you very much.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate you being the advocate for
Great
the town of Mount Pleasant.
news.
We really do. Thanks, Margaret.
Anyone else wish to address the board?
Yes or no?
I'm not sure how this works. Did you sign in? Yes, I did. Thank you. Okay. Hi, good evening, town board. What I'm about to state is my opinion.
If you don't mind, just state your name, please.
Your
Can you hear me?
Yeah, but state your name and address.
Oh, I'm
please.
sorry, I was going to. I'm Leslie Carney, and I reside at 315 Fort Washington Avenue, Porthmore, next to the gas station at 290 Commerce Street. That's what I'm going to be speaking about, okay? It's my opinion based on actual circumstances and events. I'd imagine you are somewhat familiar with the situation, but I would like to explain my complaint with the town. The neighbors have been dealing with this unacceptable situation for almost a year. I have personally been involved since May of 2019. The issue is the town has not taken this seriously, and to date, it is still not being taken serious, in my opinion. A safety plan for residents was requested prior to the approval of the permit, and to date, no safety plan has been provided. The special use permit was permitted to lapse by the Scudero brothers and the town building department for 12+ years, and without consequences. I would think that to be strange, to say the least, and I would think everyone on the board should be asking why. What special consideration is being given to the gas station? And then to add insult to injury for a town building department official to determine that since the use permit is not in place, it reverts back to a gas station and nothing to enforce. Over and over, we have stated that this makes no sense. And then Deborah Palazzo went to the ZBA, and what a breath of fresh air. Respectful, and the court was held to the right standards. Upon the conclusion of the meeting with the ZBA, they said we could hear what they were to rule on, and stated that all prior ZBA rulings and law are in place at the end of the meeting. But the final decisions are to be fully presented on this Thursday. Now, the town has had plenty of time to do the minutes, and I hope there is no reason to postpone to the next month, whereas the building department can stall longer. Now, on Thursday, December 4th, the planning board granted a special use permit to 290 Commerce Street. And I ask why. It states no special use permit is to be put in place if violations are present. Town Law 21833. Now, if you want to state that the final decision from the ZBA is not final, then explain how you rule with violations stated in the special use permit. Line 4, and I quote, "The existing fence on the north side of the site shall be legalized." Line 18, I'm only reading part of the quote, "The fence must meet the provisions of Town Code 21812F, or variance must be obtained." And then line 7, quoting part of it, "There shall be no outdoor storage, parking of partially dismantled or wrecked vehicles." There's a wrecked vehicle, door, roof missing, etc., directly behind the building, and no parking spaces back there on the site plan. This is not to mention all the alterations done on the application of special use permit originally stating for the Scuderos. How is it that the special use permit now stating Palisades Fuel? If it is Palisades Fuel, it should have been stated that from the beginning, or a brand new application process should have been done. I feel this whole process has been a shell game because you never know what you will find or not find in documentation. Now, the building department has created a debacle as well as the Scuderos gas station owner, not abiding by the restrictions that are controlling precedents and considering all the neighbors and safety. If we heard it once, we heard it multiple times. The gas station's activities have outgrown the residential area it is located in. These extension of use violates the provisions of the grandfather clause, 21885, and such are no longer applicable. Not to mention that it was brought up that the building inspector, Mr. Pinelli, should have recused himself due to an obvious conflict of interest between the Hawthorne Fire Department relationship with Scalpahorn and being seen on many occasions socializing at the gas station. Now at the planning board, the question was asked, will there be fines imposed if violations occurred? And this response was yes, by the building department. Well, the special use document got filed on this past Friday, December 5th. And as stated, I wrote a complaint for violation number 6, violation of 16 cars on the lot, and 8 are permitted. Filed with Carroll Planning Board, and Carroll was very nice and explained next complaint would be filed with the building department, but she would handle this one and forward it on, and I said yes. Carroll said there was no one to check on the violations, so for me to take pictures and email them to her, and I did. Now I was in the street taking the pictures and then sitting in my car to email them when the gas station called the police on me. Then I sat down and detailed another complaint stating 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 18 of the special use permit. Went back to the town and met with Bo DeSimone and attached the pages from the use permit too and sent the pictures via email. On Monday, I called to inquire where the complaint stood, and I was told that he was very busy and did not have a chance to look into it yet, and that he did not have a copy of the use permit. And I said I supplied the pages in the complaint. I was then told until his boss provided the use permit, he was not going to be able to even look at the violations. How would you feel if you were told this after the planning board said over and over again the special use permit needed to be put in place to enforce? While this was not true and the ZBA prior restrictions remained enforceable, but I can tell you my blood pressure went up as I stated the full permit was filed in the clerk's office down the hall. Went back to the town again with Debbie for her to file a new complaint with the station, with the gas station, a gas tanker banking up on Commerce Street illegally, and other violations. Further discussion with building department employees, and in my opinion again, the violations have no sense of urgency to enforce. Since you are the controlling authority, how are you going to get the situation rectified in a non-biased manner?
Thank you. Darius, do you have any, I know you were following up on this.
This was before the planning board. They issued the special permit before the zoning board Thursday, and enforcement will be handled by the building department.
They have been advised that they must enforce this, right?
Well, we got to be careful there. They got to look at the special permit and determine whether they believe there's a violation, and there's a notice of violation issued. There's a whole process they go through with every other property. And if there's a violation that they believe should be issued a violation, there's no remedy, then they will issue a violation. They should.
Can I ask you a
You
question?
can't tell them, the town board or me can't tell them they have to do anything. That's their decision. They have the authority to bring the claim. Then ultimately, everyone knows the building department doesn't say you're fine. That's not the way it works. It's a court of law. You got to bring the case, have a trial, and then the court will determine whether they're in violation or not and issue the fine. That's how it works. So the building department just can't say you're fined $250, come back tomorrow.
They just issue a violation.
Right, they document it.
Correct.
Yeah, I had a question, please. The special use permit, is it identical to the previous one as far
No,
as,
it's different.
what are the terms?
There's a number of different terms
Yeah.
concerning parking, concerning activity on the site. It's pretty well.
Hours?
It's pretty restrictive. We can make a copy available for you.
That would be helpful.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
We're not dropping the ball on this. We will be working on it. It can't be an immediate solution here. So,
I was down there today for about over an hour with one of the building department officials.
okay.
In the ring.
Hi, my name is Sarah Gaddis. I live across from the gas station. And we have been at this, as Leslie said, for a year. I would like to just point out and emphasize that the resolution it's not a renewal because it's different. And Palisades is different than what had been before, so it's not a renewal. It's new, and it is an expansion. Instead of the hours open until 7, it's now open till 9, which means that the lights shining on Deb's house in her living room, in her windows, go till 9 now. That's all I'm going to say.
The planning board issues the special permit, not this board.
Right.
We understand
So good evening, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Deborah Palazzo, 297 Commerce Street, directly across the street from the gas station. I think most of you know that. So, we have been given for about a year one excuse after the other by the building department of why there's not a violation on this property. The building department has made up its own interpretations of the law so as not to find a violation or just ignored the law. Now finally there's a new special use permit. The permit has many restrictions. It takes in many of the safety issues that we've been complaining about for over a year. The permit was effective as of December 5th. However, it is yet to be enforced. It is 5 days later. The building department continues to provide excuses. This one hasn't gotten a full copy. This one hasn't read it all the way through. They're waiting for the boss to give them a copy. They have 10 days to act on it. In the meantime, the violations continue as they have in the past. So as we waited for months and months for the planning board to do their job, and I think they did a very, very good job. There's some things I don't agree with, but they did an excellent job. We're still in the same situation, so it's very frustrating. There's no question, my opinion and my neighbors, that the gas station has received special treatment from the building department. Absolutely, there's no question. There's no question, in my opinion, that Mr. Pinelli has a conflict of interest. He's seen their mornings having coffee. His red truck was there the last snowstorm, was it 10 days ago, plowing the snow. I don't know who was driving it, but it was his truck, and he's snow plowing for the gas station. All right, so without any right or authority, I'm going back. Mr. Pinelli, he ignored the town code. He instructed or permitted the operator to move a fence. I've been complaining about the fence since it happened. I've been saying it's illegal. It violated the code, and I've been told by the building department, no, it didn't, because Mr. Pinelli says it didn't. Well, it turns out that it did. So that fence now is part of the restrictions and has to be legalized. Mr. Pinelli instigated himself into the special use permit matter at the last hour after the public meeting was closed by giving erroneous legal advice, claiming there had been a variance in 1979 allowing 12 cars to be parked on the property instead of the permitted 8. That also turned out to be false. He caused a delay in the matter. He probably cost them money. They did site plan for 12 cars, and they had to redo it and do a site plan for eight cars. It caused aggravation to the neighbors. The building department refused to act, to have an offensive glaring light, flashing light on our houses. This is going back quite a while, but they refused to act. We had a flashing light on our house that went on and off every 60 seconds for over 1 month. The board was made aware of it because you're all on my CCs. We had to have the police come to turn off the light. It's outrageous. As my neighbor said, the building inspector wrongly determined that the prior ZBA restrictions did not apply any longer. 45 years of ZBA restrictions on this non-conforming property were ignored because Mr. Pinelli said so. It's my opinion that the building department, specifically Mr. Pinelli, inflamed the situation, has caused such aggravation. He's had neighbors become adversary with neighbors, all because he didn't do his job. This never should have come to this. From the very beginning, if he just had nipped it in the bud, this wouldn't have happened. Now, his lack of doing anything didn't even help the gas station, because now they have all these restrictions. They have 3 pages of restrictions that we wouldn't even have asked for, except this continued and continued and continued. And the aggravation continued. And the tit for tat, calling the police on my neighbors, and the things that he's done to my property. Right now the lights are on. So now he's allowed to stay open until 9, but he doesn't. He closes at 7, but he leaves all the lights on. Why? Why? So they shine on my house. This is continuous. It's a nuisance. I've been saying it's a nuisance. It doesn't belong there. So I just stand before you. I hope that you will get involved, and I think that if the building department does not enforce the violations, and I don't mean next week or in 10 days, I mean effective now. It's the law. We've been waiting for the law, but I think that it's serious. It's a serious matter, and I think that he should be fired. That's my opinion. So I thank you for your time, and I think that special enforcement does not help this community. It's not good for the community, and that's what we have going on here. So thank you very much for your time.
Just a question. When you say it doesn't belong there, do you mean that the gas station should not be there?
I believe the gas station should no longer be there, yes. It's too small. I mean, it's been there since the 1930s. The tankers are bigger than the station. The tankers come in, they take the entire station, they have to back out to the county road, no matter how many times they've been told it's illegal, they continue to do it. So now the last time they did it was Sunday, but this time they turned off the beep, beep, beep. So now you have a massive tanker backing out onto Commerce Street with no backup warning. I don't know who told them to do that, but you know, it's not supposed to back up, but that's what they got. That's what they do. Yesterday, or was it today? I think it was today. They had a big flatbed in Commerce Street, not on the property, picking up a car. All the other cars have to go around it. There's such safety issues that go on over there. And the restrictions that have been put on are fine, and it would help. But I do not believe, with all my heart, that they will be enforced. And I'm looking to this board to step in.
Well,
Thank you.
he has 10 days to comply, no?
Comply
Is
with
that,
what?
is that what it is? If it's not, if he doesn't comply within 10 days, he's
Could
violated,
be
no?
issued a violation.
Okay. Well,
Because the permit was just issued?
Well, no, every property they'll do an inspection. If there's an alleged violation, you'll give them time to remedy it. I mean, if there's a situation with a truck backing up, if that continues, there could be a violation for
Who does the
Yes.
inspections, though? Who
the
does?
building department.
But if it's a fluid situation, I don't understand.
the planning board has issued a special permit with restrictions on the property.
Correct.
So if within 10 days they do not follow those restrictions, they should be violated.
That could be. And
Why could be?
Well, they
Why
have to prove it in
wouldn't they be?
court, but
But if the cars have been moved and we're supplying pictures of how many cars, but.
I think there's a misinterpretation of the decision. The decision allows 8 cars to be parked there, plus cars inside. The special permit decision. There's no prohibition of someone getting gasoline. There could be 20 cars waiting to go gasoline down Commerce Street, if that was the situation.
So it doesn't apply to-
4 cars can get gasoline at the same time. There's 8 cars plus 2 in the bays.
The-
It's very complicated.
All right, the count doesn't apply to people getting gas then?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, but the special use permit gives the parameters or gives the rules and,
It talks about that.
yeah, so that's the basis of a violation if that rule is
Correct.
being not obeyed or,
Correct.
so if the residents think that there's a violation taking place, they pick up the phone, they email, what do?
They could do anything they want to contact the building department. I think there has been obviously some contact with the building department already, with Carolyn, with Bo.
Yeah, but I'm just saying going forward from,
They could come in, they could write something, they could email, they could phone call, they could do whatever, and then obviously the building department can't jump to go to a place.
So they have- right.
They'll go and do an inspection, which they do.
uh-huh.
I know they've been down
I
there
know, I know.
almost every day
I
since
know.
Thursday. And we were there for a long time today explaining what can be done and what can't be done. So, I mean, it's been 5 days. I think I did notice today that there was a big difference from today compared to last week. Big difference. It appeared to me to be safe. They weren't parking cars along Commerce. They weren't engaging in activities on Commerce back into the building and into the site. They had, I didn't count the specific number of cars, but there was plenty of ability to turn and to have cars go in and out of the space without any trouble. There was nothing blocking the cars and entering or exiting Commerce Street. So to me today, it looked good. Was there 1 or 2 extra cars? Well, I was there. The building department was there. So we had to park somewhere. We could park on the street, but it was raining. So we parked on site. But, there will be inspections done. If there's complaints, go to the building department, and the building department will review them and inspect them.
But I have one question.
Did you have a conversation with the operator?
I did.
Is he aware of the restrictions?
He is.
And does he feel that he can abide by those?
Time will tell.
Well, does he understand that everybody has to compromise when a permit is issued? Does he understand that some compromises were made on both sides, but?
It's hard for me to tell what he understands, but I think we were pretty clear
Okay.
today. That that he needs to abide by the special permit. And if he wants to seek a variance or an amendment, he can do that. He has a right to do that, but he could be denied. But he was well aware, in my opinion, of restrictions. He had a copy of the special permit there, reading from it.
Well, I will personally clarify with the building department tomorrow that if there are violations, that they have to follow through with them.
Yeah, I mean, they will have to inspect, just like they do every property, inspect the properties and see if there are violations.
How often does the permit have to be renewed?
Every 10 years.
Every 13?
15.
15?
I think it was 10 in this.
It's 10 in this one.
Well, whatever it says, I thought it's.
Whatever
if
it says.
If it's 15, it's 15. I believe it's 10, but we'll take a look. It could be 15. Okay.
Okay.
It's on file in the clerk's office. I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah, because the issue is that I've been accused of trying to ruin someone's business here and all this stuff, and that is not true. I think that it is, in order to put a deck on your house, you have to have a permit. So I hope that the permit is fair. I hope that people arrived at it in good faith, and I hope that it'll be enforced in good faith.
I think the planning board has looked at this very closely.
There's been a lot of time involved in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of time, by everyone in town hall. It's still going on.
Well, again, I will make it very clear tomorrow with the building department what they're supposed to be doing, what their job is. Anyone else wish to address the board?
Yes. Name is Mark Stefano. I live at 128-9 South Kensico.
Did you sign in?
Avenue. Yes, I signed in earlier.
Thank you.
Before I start, I'm curious, how many of you board members actually went down to Pat Henry Field and actually took a critical look at it? Recently?
Yes.
Yes.
Thursday.
This past week?
Yes.
Okay. Thursday with Carl?
Yes.
Okay. And I know Francesca's been here, and I know Mrs. Kunzio.
I did a site visit too. I visited it.
Okay, very good.
I did
Just
many
wanted-
site visits over the last 6 months to a year.
Okay, just wanted to make sure, because from what I heard at the work session the other day, I wasn't sure many of you have been down there, okay?
I spent years there with 3 children playing ball.
But did you take a critical?
Sir,
look
for
at
the
it?
audience at home, sir, can you
Yes.
please use the microphone?
They can hear me, believe me, they can.
Sir, please use the
You're on-
microphone.
You're on the air, so that's why.
That's true. Well, these up too. Just so you can look at them as I talk to them. That's a list of shade trees, so you know what shade trees are, because I'm not sure you have an idea what shade trees are. Okay, and we're going to just go through, because I listened to the audio, I wasn't able to make it last meeting, okay? But luckily, one of the concerned citizen actually records your conversation, so I know exactly what went on here the other day.
Excuse me, sir, do you mean the work session,
The
or do
work
you mean?
session, correct.
Oh, someone actually does record our work
They
sessions.
do, they do.
Oh.
It's nice, the public has a right to know this kind of stuff.
I understand that.
You're invited every
So,
week.
Anyway, you were talking, I couldn't make it.
I understand, but I'm just saying, you're making it sound like we're doing it behind closed doors.
Yeah,
We're
but
not.
Sometimes the meetings almost sound like that.
Yeah,
It's
well, they're
all,
not.
it's all open and not hidden.
Very
You're,
good.
the way you're portraying it is incorrect, sir.
No, well, whatever, okay. But I noticed you talked about the crux of the matter being the lights. Okay, yes, we're discussing the lights, but the crux of the matter actually is the quality of life within the neighborhood, the residents that will be affected by the lights. It's not the lights themselves, it's the quality of life in the neighborhood. South Kensico, Upland, Hillside, Howard, High Street, all the streets are impacted by all the increase in traffic as well as night traffic, okay? I know Carl took a look at, I guess you took a look at the containers the other day,
Yes.
okay?
Correct.
No one's ever gotten back to me. I've asked the county, I've asked you, who authorized those containers to be there in the first place? Those are full-size shipping containers. Those are for traffic from China or Korea across the ocean, not meant for outside neighbors' houses. Okay? But I'm sure you're going to get in touch with the residents because you said you'd let us know about all your meetings. Yet no one told us about the work session meeting. You had our emails, you had our phone numbers.
I'm sorry,
No
you
one told us-
didn't know about the work session?
You had told us you were going to tell us.
No, you
when-
said I didn't let you know about a work session.
Right, you had told
They're
us-
regularly scheduled meetings.
Correct, but you had told the residents that you would tell us when you were discussing issues dealing with Pat Henry Field.
Actually, what he said was that he would update you on the status, and your time at your, that's exactly what he said.
You weren't here at that meeting.
Okay, yes, I was. And
No, you weren't.
I was at all the meetings, so I can tell you that the promise was to update the community and the neighborhood on the status of the situation and the questions that were raised. And let me,
Was he sitting next to you that day?
may I finish? May I finish? So your timing is interesting, but I believe the supervisor's office is prepared a document over the last few weeks after doing a lot of research that is probably going to be released in the next few days that will be notifying the neighborhood, okay? And it probably will address a lot of the questions. So unfortunately, you're here tonight looking for answers, which is totally acceptable, and you're going to be receiving them soon on certain issues. Now, I don't know what other issues you have before us, but
Well, I was just wondering when these meetings are taking place, because we're not really seem to get, it's like Ms. Smalley said, she met with the lighting expert. When did you meet with the lighting expert?
The lighting expert came and spoke to the Recreation Commission, which is the first Monday of every month. It's
Okay.
public documentation. It's on the website when the Recreation Commission meets.
Okay,
And
very
that
good.
was our
Was
first.
this lighting expert also the person selling the lights?
My understanding, yes, they are the vendor.
Do you think that actually is something that should be looked at?
I don't
A little
know,
more critically?
I'm not sure where you're going with this, but I will say one thing. This has been an ongoing problem. It's been an ongoing discussion since approximately 2004. What we were presented with at the beginning of the summer, prior to Recreation Commission making a visit down to Pat Henry Field, was a lighting expert who knows a lot more about lighting than I do. And basically, I was pleased to see that this lighting expert was able to really determine and focus. The equipment now is different than it would have been in 2004 when that field was flipped. And quite honestly, I was pleased to see that any lighting that would be considered,
Okay, fair enough.
has been tailored to directly shine upon the area that the children ages 4 through 12 will be playing Little League Baseball and softball.
Correct, I've seen all the numbers already. Okay. Now, also at the work session, you mentioned how as soon as I mentioned the Snap-on tool truck, that immediately Carl and the town attorney took action on it and had it removed?
Yes.
Okay?
That's true.
But in fact, you didn't. I had sent everybody on this board, as well as Mrs. Kunzio.
We didn't have it removed?
You had it removed.
Okay, what is the
Thing
question?
is,
What's the
It
question?
was only after I went in front of the camera and brought it up.
All right, so I didn't know it was there.
I had sent letters to you, everybody on this board, June 11th. As a matter of fact, Mrs. Kunzio showed up in the neighborhood that weekend, and you actually visited some of the residents, okay, about it. So I had wrote her. You all got the same letter. I wrote a letter again to you, let's see, June 7th and then June 11th. I had even included pictures on it.
Has the
You
truck
all
been removed?
received.
Has the truck been removed?
It got removed, but it took
Okay.
a while to get removed.
And I'm sorry, we apologize for the delay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I just want to go through
You can
the
move on.
points that you made at the work meeting. Okay? And then about the trees. You said you were down there on Thursday and you saw the shade trees.
Who said that?
What shade trees did you?
Who said that?
You did.
I said that I saw the shade trees?
Do you want me to play it for you? I have it on my phone.
No.
Okay.
We went down and looked at the entire property.
Right, but you said
You were
you
fine
said
with
at
taping
that
it.
session that there were shade. They planted more trees than they needed to, and that
And
the
we were
shade
checking,
trees
we were checking to see exactly if they were put where they were supposed to be put.
And where they put where they were supposed to be.
I don't know yet. I'm waiting for details
Well,
on it.
here's the details right here. You saw, you've all been down to the field. You know they're crabapple trees. Crabapple trees are not shade trees. Crabapple trees at maturity, they grow to 15 feet high. Their canopy is 15 feet wide. That's why if you go down there and measure, they're planted 18
Okay,
feet
you don't like
on
the trees,
center.
right? We're working on
I
tree
like
planting.
crabapple trees.
We're working on tree planting.
But the prints,
Okay?
So what's your
Prince-
request? New trees?
the prints showed sycamore trees being planted all around this outfield here. You can see that, as well as all the existing trees here. Those are all cut down. There's now a batting cage there, literally right across from the house. You can see it in your pictures. You can see the trees
No, I was there.
here
I saw
and
it.
the trees here.
I was there.
So you're aware of that?
Yes,
So
I am.
make sure the board's aware of these things,
Very well.
okay? But those trees that were planted by Kensico Little League are not shade trees. Those are considered ornamental trees.
According to Recreation Department, they met,
Ornamental trees.
according to
Shade trees.
Recreation Department, they met that purpose.
And that was approved and signed off by the county, and we have documentation that supports that the county was aware.
signs off on stuff just like you sign on stuff without really looking at it critically. You know, I hate to say that, but I know that happens, and you know it happens.
Obviously.
I mean, honestly, this is the best policy. Okay, then you also said, I know the county, again, signed off on the wetlands issue, okay? And I'll read, this was a special conditions put back when they redid the field, erosion control. Prior to commencement of the activities authorized within, the permittee shall install securely anchored silt fencing and/or continuously staked hay bales as shown on the plans and drawing referenced in this permit. These erosion control devices shall be maintained until all disturbed land is fully vegetated to prevent any silt or sediment from entering the freshwater wetlands or the adjacent area. Silt fencing, hay bales, and any accumulated silt and sediment shall be completely removed for disposal at the appropriate upland site. Now, I witnessed firsthand, as my wife witnessed, and we actually called the DEP on this. The bulldozers literally bulldozing over the hay bales and silt fences right into the Bronx River. I called the DEP, 2 police officers showed up, and they said, well, we don't see any silt fencing or hay bales. And I'm like, well, that's the point. They've been bulldozed over already. Nothing ever got done. And yes, the county did sign off on it. Shame on them, shame on you. Okay? And so the whole reason I've gone through that is basically I'm seeing a pattern of lies and deception of Kensico Little League, but also perpetuated by some members here, I think, on the board. So I just hope you think critically about before you make actions.
May I ask, sir, what would your remedy be to this? Now, this is a clear decision that has not been made yet. However,
from
I
your
have
voices, I
have a question. Well,
Yes.
please let me finish.
Okay.
The issue before us is if there should be lighting there for the children's youth sports here in the town of Mount Pleasant at a baseball, softball field that's been in existence at that site since 1963.
That's correct.
But what I'm getting from you is a lot of extraneous complaints. So I want to know, in your opinion,
We are not against Little League, okay? But Little League is actually decreasing. The number of people going out for Little League has been decreasing steadily over the years because most kids nowadays play soccer. So why this field needs to be expanded hours and later at night, it doesn't make sense, especially in a residential neighborhood. You have other fields in town.
well, as you know, if you follow youth sports throughout the county and especially throughout the country, you will see that, especially in the town of Mount Pleasant and our neighboring towns, Greenberg, North Castle, fields are at a premium because children do play sports.
Right, they
And
do.
children play soccer.
I play sports.
And they play baseball and softball. But we're not here to tell youth sports that they're declining. If anything, from what I hear as a recreation liaison here for the last 6 years, are the community members want to see the children have more activities, to see the young people have more opportunities to play on our fields. And that's what we're trying to do here in the town of Mount Pleasant.
But this is supposed to be Little League. That's what you...
Little League is ages 3 through 12. That's it.
What, say the ages?
No,
4.
actually it's 4 to 12. And that is a sanctioned Little League field. And no one over the age of 12
Who
can
plays
play
at that
there.
field? Ask Mr. Kander if he plays at that field.
No, we're not having a back and
We're
forth
not-
here.
We're not
all
engaging
summer
in that.
long, it's high school or college girls, it's older people. I mean, the residents here, my wife can tell, it's not 4 to 12-year-olds playing on that field all summer long.
That is what the field is sanctioned for, and that is my understanding that that is what the field is used for. If there's something else,
Checked into who's playing at the field then.
but that is not the issue that we're dealing with. We're dealing with the issue of putting lighting at the field. So if we can narrow it, I think the supervisor and the town board has been very, very understanding and open to addressing your concerns. And as Mr. DiPaolo has just said, there is a document that will be circulated. And I believe there's been a lot of work and we've done our due diligence.
Okay, now have you read the IMA?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Are you aware then that it's a county field?
I'm
Okay.
absolutely aware
And
it's a
that
county
anybody,
field.
that anybody in the county can use that field?
I am very
So
aware
once
of that
there's
field.
lights on that field, if Kensico Little League or the town isn't using that field, Anybody from this county can go in and use that field.
But are you aware, sir, that that IMA and that lease agreement has been in effect here with Mount Pleasant
I am. I've been
exclusively
reading it.
for how many years?
For
And
a
that it
long,
is
long
also,
time. But a lot of it is incorrect.
it also expires in April of 2020.
I am aware of
And
that.
therefore, if it were to expire, my question directly to Kathy O'Connor, who happens to be the Commissioner of Parks and Rec here in the town of Mount Pleasant, and I asked her directly, there were witnesses with me, other people that went to this meeting, what happens if the town of Mount Pleasant should decide not to go into that lease agreement? And her answer was, it becomes my field. In other words, that park
It's open to
will
the
be
county.
open to the county. So I'm saying at this point, sir, the Recreation Department of the town of Mount Pleasant still has the lease. And the use has been with Kensico Little League for all these years. If we open it up, if we decide to step back, or if Kensico Little League says if we've had enough, we're going to walk away, then the field is a county park, and we would have no ability to control or determine what happens
I
at
don't
that
think you
park.
have total control now. Like if somebody wants to use that field between 10 and 11 at night, once they put the lights on, can they say no to anybody
I
in the county?
actually, from what I understand, the IMA's with the town, so that would be a Kathy O'Connor question. It is not open for sign-up like other parks in the
That
county.
is correct, Margaret. That is
And
correct.
it's not like
They
Tibbetts,
would have
it's
to
not
sign
like,
up quick.
correct. Oh, it's all first come, first served, so if you want to use the field, Tibbetts or anything else, there's a huge wait list. And people from, whether it's youth soccer or baseball, whether it's school districts, they have to sign up for that. And the open enrollment, I guess you call it, when the fields come available, they're already filled right away. So we don't have a sign up for Pat Henry.
No, we don't.
So I have to go through the town first beforehand?
It's a lease with the town of Mount Pleasant.
Okay, well, just consider what I said before you make your vote. Okay? Thank you very much for your time.
Anybody else like to address the board?
Laura Senti, Valhalla, New York. Regarding the Kensico Little League field, and I really wasn't planning on coming up here tonight to talk about it, but since it's been frozen. The one thing that hasn't come up is that there's a ball field right behind it on Virginia Road. And a solution really would be put the lights on the Virginia Road rather than the Kensico Little League field. I understand why Kensico Little League would like the lights there, but it is a field in a residential area. And I think the point, I understand you're weighing what's good for the youth and the community, but you also have to realize that the residents have really a right of quiet enjoyment of the property down there. And to have Little League years ago was from April through the end of June during the school year. Now it's basically April until October when you have other seasons or other tournaments. And there has been an increase in the use of that field since it's been redesigned. I mean, I'm sure if somebody goes back and looks at the statistics, the use has increased. I think the solution really is look at the county field or the field. It's in the town of Mount Pleasant. Town of Mount Pleasant still controls the scheduling of it. You have access off the Parkway, off of Virginia Road. It's not in a residential neighborhood. Why not look there? And possibly look at putting some type of, you know, if it's the fact that Kensico Little League wants to use the concession stand, put some type of means of getting between the two ballparks. You have the traffic issue at the railroad crossing. This board has said that they don't want any additional traffic there. That still is a dangerous situation. And what I'm hoping for is that this board doesn't look towards approving the request for the lights, and then turning around saying we want to close that railroad crossing because now we have additional traffic. That's a concern for the residents down there. But you do have other fields. You have North 60 that's being built. Why not ask the county for some additional land for a ball field, a multi-purpose ball field with lights? So then it's not just Little League, it's other soccer, whatever, but not in a residential area. And I think you really have to take into consideration these people, it's their homes. You can have people that are sick, have a child that's autistic, that is sensitive to noise, or so forth, or any type of illness down there, and yet you have this, and you're going to increase this usage. You put lights there, and even though everybody's saying right now, you're not going to increase usage, you have the potential to increase the usage. And also the theory of is if Kensico Little League isn't going to use it and it reverts back to the county, and then they can schedule it. Well, why would we want to allow a field with lights to revert back to the county? I mean, that's a reason not to put lights there, if that should ever happen. Have the field that's on the other side, it is a baseball, a Little League field, use that field for the lights. And it's not in a residential community. So, I'd just like you to consider that. Thank you.
Laura, thank you for being articulate and offering some alternatives. As always, I appreciate your input, especially that it's not accusatory.
As you know, Laura, we discussed that crossing on many meetings, and we did offer an alternative to bypass the crossing, but we got a lot of feedback that we never would do that. So that's still up in the air right now with that crossing, but it is something that we were not in favor of, but we did have an alternative. Anybody else wish to address the board? We'll move on to the town clerk's report.
Town clerk's agenda, December 10th, 2019, town board meeting. Received Mount Pleasant Public Library Board minutes, October 17 and October 28th of 2019. Received signed 2019 hydrant rental agreement contract between Town of Mount Pleasant and Hawthorne Fire District. One planning board resolution, Palisades Fuel at 290 Commerce Street in Hawthorne. 3 notices of claim, John Ferrara versus Town of Mount Pleasant, Michael Pizzuto versus Town of Mount Pleasant, and Matthew Blaustein versus Town of Mount Pleasant.
Item D would be referred to the town attorney. Thank you. Council reports, Councilman DiPaolo.
Thank you. Good evening to the public. On behalf of the Comptroller's Office, I have this week's Comptroller's Memo. Out of the due to other governments department line, the Pecanico Hills Central School District receiving $34,480.80. Valhalla Fire District, $2,008.39 for a total of $36,489.19. Out of the Building Town Hall line, Apple Maintenance Services for monthly cleaning of Town Hall, $2,695. Out of the prepaid expenses line, Center Stage Broadway, and this is for $4,965. Out of the public safety line, Corsi Tire for some snow tires for the police department, $1,787.88. Out of the safety inspection line, certified elevator inspections. These are for elevator inspections from September through November, and that is a total of $7,875. Out of the parks line, Fun Time Amusements, and this is for our fall festival rides, was $2,605. Out of the general repair line, Charles Maganero, this is for design work on Whittier Drive storm sewer, and that's $15,185. Expanded supply products, we have a whole bunch of different materials and supplies there, varying prices. And also Peckham Industries for a bunch of blacktop that was ordered. Thal Industries, we have some asphalt for $325, 5 cubic yards of asphalt for $125, and additional 7 cubic yards for $175. Thal Industries again for 3/4 inch stone and related materials, and the total out of the general repair line is $88,943.80. Out of the highway machinery line, DTM Parts Supply, there's some blades and pins, $1,776.86. Out of the highway general capital project line, Jim Reed's Truck Sales is the vendor, and this was a planer, 24-inch planer rental, and that was for $2,640. Out Out of the highway garage roof repair line, Sullivan Data Management. This was for some emergency IT service that occurred in October, and that was for $708.75. Out of the Capital Old Farm Hill water line, Jokin Development, replacement of water mains, $612,731.89. This is again a bonded project that's going on over there. Kensico Capital Projects, Peckham Industries, some blacktop, and that is a total of $1,861.79. Valhalla Refuse District, Moorbark LLC. This is for parts for our tub grinder, and that is $903.18. Mount Pleasant Refuse District, Moorbark again, tub grinder parts, $3,612.72. Mount Pleasant Consolidated Sewer District, All Makes Pump and Motor Repair Incorporated. This is for a replacement vacuum, $2,320. Mechanical Water District line, we have Professional Consulting Incorporated. This is for some design work and dechlorinization, and that was a total of $4,683.75. Kensico Water Line, Professional Consulting Incorporated, and this is for hydraulic modeling for $1,268.75. Brings the grand total for this week's comptroller's memo to $777,868.56. Respectfully submitted by our comptroller, Brian Keneally. I move to approve and pay the bills.
Motion by Mr. DiPaolo.
Second.
Second by Mr. Soriano. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Councilman Soriano, I don't believe you have anything on your...
Good evening, Mr. Supervisor and the public. I have nothing from the police department. Have an excellent evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilwoman Smalley.
Good evening. My report, as usual, is from Department of Parks and Recreation. And as we say in Department of Parks and Recreation, it is now December. However, for them, it is summer. So they're working on the day camp programs and the pool. The first item, though, is authorization to enter into a rental agreement with Valhalla United Methodist Church. This is memo number 74. We are requesting to approve to enter into this rental agreement for a baseball program. The program will operate Saturday, December 14th through Saturday, February 29th, 2020, from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. I believe it is one coach and 8 children. The cost will be $50 a day. The application and lease are attached to this document and are on file in the Department of Parks and Recreation. Move for approval, please.
Motion by Ms. Smalley.
Second.
Second by Mr. DiPaolo. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item is Purchase Order 70-19-32, concrete and asphalt work relating to oil tank repairs. Installation of the concrete and removal and replacement of the asphalt at the Mount Pleasant Community Center. The vendor that's been awarded the contract is Peter J. Landy. The total cost will be $29,400. Move for approval, please.
Motion by Ms. Smalley.
Second.
Second by Mr. Soriano. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item is Purchase Order 70-19-33, variable frequency drives. These are drives to control the 25 horsepower motors in the pump room of the town pool complex. Proposals were obtained from 4 vendors. The winning quote was from Healy, and the amount of the project is $20,989. Move for approval, please.
Motion by Ms. Smalley.
Second.
Second by Ms. Hagedis. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Just a few public service announcements. Of course, Saturday is Breakfast with Santa, and it is one of the best events we do here in the town of Mount Pleasant for the younger ones, and their parents and their grandparents.
Yeah.
There's 2 seatings, 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. I was also very privileged to be invited to the Senior Hall of Fame Luncheon, Awards Luncheon, and just to note that Peter Zambito of Thornwood is to be congratulated for his dedication to Home Delivered Meals program. Peter is a driver, and if you know about our Home Delivered Meals program, it has grown tremendously in the last few years. based on the needs of our community, but also on our staff, who work diligently to meet the needs of everyone in town. So congratulations to Peter. He was there we were at a luncheon with hundreds of people addressed by the county executive as well as other dignitaries from around the area. Thank you and congratulations to Peter.
Thank you. Councilwoman Hagedis.
Good evening. My report is from the Highway Department, and I have two items. The first one is from David Barker, the Director of Fleet Operations, and it is a purchase order to purchase a 2020 Ford F-350 for the Highway Department per New York State mini bid. The vendor is Van Bortel Ford, and it is to be delivered to the Highway Department, and the cost, description is a 2020 Ford F-350, regular cab, 8-foot box with western plow and lift gate. And the amount is $39,667.62. I move for approval, please.
Motion by Ms. Hagedis,
Second.
second by Mr. DiPaolo. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
My second and last item here is, it's that time of year, we need to purchase salt. And right now, we have a purchase order from Richard Benquit, the Superintendent of Highways, to purchase the salt. The unit price is $65.74 per ton. There's a fuel adjustment cost of .06 per ton. And the total amount, and we're ordering 800 tons, sorry, and the total amount is $52,544. I move for approval, please.
Motion by Ms. Hagedis,
Second.
second by Ms. Smalley. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I'm hoping we don't use that salt.
Yes,
so we
well,
have to buy
maybe
it.
tonight.
We never know.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I don't believe we have anything from our town attorney tonight.
Nothing this week, Mr. Supervisor.
I just, the town board was invited this evening to share a very exciting event for the Valhalla High School volleyball team winning the New York State Championship. So we were, it was nice to be invited to that, and we were very impressed by the team. These ladies were very impressive, and just watching the video of them playing exhausted me. But we do want to congratulate them as a town for their accomplishments. Our schedule of meetings, excuse me, our work session is Tuesday, December 17th at 7 p.m. Following that meeting will be a business session at 8 p.m. Due to the holiday season with Christmas and Hanukkah, we didn't want to have any meetings during that holiday period. So we will accomplish two things that evening. So being no further, we already approved that.
Yes, we did in
Yes,
the last
schedule.
meeting.
Yes, we
Okay.
approved it, yes.
We're good.
Be no further business from the board, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Smalley,
Second.
second by Mr. Saliano. Thank you, meeting adjourned.